A Life of Intimate Fellowship with God, page 121. Step 2. I will surely help you. The miracle of the paint. It had been 3 months since I moved back into the empty Seattle house, trying to get it ready for sale. I was crying often, not out of loneliness, but from a feeling that God wasn't answering my prayer to sell the house. As if He had abandoned me. I would cry and cry until I couldn't breathe from my runny nose. But for whatever reason, God would not answer my prayer to sell the house. Instead, He showed me signs of His presence, that He was watching over me. One instance of God's provision happened over paint. The money I brought from Korea had run out, so I decided not to paint the interior walls of the house. However, the real estate agent insists that if I didn't paint the interior walls, the house wouldn't sell. I asked the painter to just paint over any visible stains on the white walls, but he replied, "It will only make the wall look worse. No matter how closely we might try, it is impossible to get paints that exactly matches the color of the walls." A few days later, I went to the paint shop. I had no idea there were so many shades of white. I was at a loss at what to buy. I asked the Lord, which white paint should I buy? And ended picking a random bucket of white paint. That night, I opened the paint can and painted over a small stain on the wall. It was a perfect match. I ran around the entire house excitedly painting over all the dirty parts of the walls. By the time I was done, they looked brand new. I showed the paint job to the painter the next day, and he was surprised that I was able to find a color match, shaking his head in awe. It was a miracle, but I still didn't have an answer on why God was keeping me in that house. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. Isaiah 55:8. Praise together. Down in the valley where the midst of doubts arise, I, by faith, can walk with God's victorious band. From the hymn, Down in the Valley. Application. Read Psalm 22, 1-2. Meditate on these verses and write about a time where you felt anguished because God wasn't immediately answering your prayer. Write about any time you felt hurt or abandoned by God, abandoned in the past. Pray together. Cry out whatever is on your heart, especially if you feel God isn't answering your prayers. How long will you forget me, Lord? Forever? Until when will you refuse me?